Welcome to Heart with Barbara Young. Tonight we'll be talking with 6 couples about their marriages, and I hope you'll find this enlightening as well as entertaining. And everything will be on the record, so whatever you whisper, the cameras are rolling. And now let's begin with our first couple. Introduce to you Sandra and Don McAllister. Sandra is a teacher in our young lady median ladies department, and Don is the director in the 1030 Sunday School department. We thank y'all so much for coming and talking with us tonight. And first thing I'd like to ask you, how long have you all been married? And tell me something a little bit about your family while you're discussing that. How many years?
Well, I think it's been about 32 years.
No. 30 this year. December 22nd.
That's right.
It seems like
30 years, that's right.
30 years. Okay, about your family. How many children do you have? Can you just tell me, have you always lived here?
You tell them.
We have 3 sons. Mark, who's 24, he forgets the numbers. That's why he always has me do this. Brad, who just turned 22, who's married and lives in New Orleans, and Mark lives in New Orleans. And we have Matthew, who's 15. And we've always lived in Baton Rouge. In fact, we've both only been members of a Stormer Baptist Church since the day we were born. I guess you can't be a member since the day you were born, but it's the only church we've ever come to.
You've always been here. Well, to your personal life and your life together as a married couple, what sort of things do you do? How do you find time to be together? What sort of activities do you enjoy as a couple? Who wants to answer that?
One way we get to spend some time together, I get Sandra to go on some of the trips with me, as many as I can, when she can leave town. And so we travel together. And when you're traveling together, that gives you a lot of time alone together. So that's been a good way that we've been able to spend some time together. Once in a while, I make an appointment with her for lunch, things like that. What else?
That's usually, we really have to plan the time, and we've been pretty good at that lately. I think when the children get older, you have more time, and I know that our young adults don't always have that luxury of taking trips, but we would like to encourage them when they can and find someone to help keep their children to travel together or take a lunch break together.
Because you can get away from the pressures of being at home. On a more serious note, do you all have family devotions? And if you do, could you tell me perhaps how they're structured or what you do about that?
Yes, we do now. We didn't always have them. And matter of fact, we went a long number of years in our family without having family devotion. And it's really been a blessing to us since we started doing this. We had to really discipline ourselves because of our schedules and the way I traveled. But it has gotten us and particularly our youngest son a lot closer together. And we've seen a dramatic change in his philosophy toward life when we were able to get together, read the Bible together, pray together. We actually got a little youth Bible, devotional type Bible, and got started and use that so it will be something that he can relate to with topics about youth. And we are using that to do our devotional right now.
And you set a certain time each week and commit to that time?
Yes, matter of fact, we set a time for every night of the week. If I happen to be out of town, Sandra does it with Matthew now, and when we're both here, we both do it together.
That's wonderful. Can you tell me, do you think that today it's any harder on young married couples than it was years ago? And do you have any advice for the young married couples today?
I do, Barbara. I think today is very difficult for our young people. Young women today are pretty much taught to go their own way, to be independent, to be able to make a living and make a way for themselves. And the whole philosophy of our society is such that do this for yourself. Do this for yourself. Find yourself. Do what feels good. And that's not conducive to a Christian home or a Christian marriage where we're taught to share and to give and to love. And so I think our young people have a lot going against them and a lot of things in our world pulling apart. So I think you have to work at Christian principles of giving and sharing. And I heard Mrs. Billy Graham say once, and I think it's been the philosophy of our marriage, and it certainly has helped, is that a good Christian marriage is made up of two good forgivers. And where would we be if we didn't have the forgiveness of our Lord Jesus Christ? So surely we should bring that same forgiveness into a Christian marriage with our spouse and with our children inside our homes.
And practice it over and over. That's very good advice. On a lighter thought, eating at home, how often do you eat out as a couple, or how often do you eat at home?
I'm glad you asked that, because I think it's real important for people to eat at home together as a family. I think it really is important. And I think that's the time that you come together and you share problems and you become intimate, and everything that's happened to you today, the children can talk about it. You can find out where everybody's going and what's been happening. And so we really make an effort to eat at home. So I would say we don't eat at home on Sundays, and no, because Sundays are just hectic. So we don't eat at home on Sundays. So that means we eat out. We eat at home, let's see, Monday.
We don't eat at home on Wednesdays. We eat up here at church.
It's true.
What about visitation on Monday?
Well, that's right. We can't eat at home on Mondays because Matthew has ball games and we have visitation. Okay.
We kind of always, on Friday evening, we like to go out together with Matt. We don't eat at home Fridays.
That's true.
Saturdays, we usually go into a ball game or going out somewhere, so we usually don't eat at home on Saturdays.
What's in that?
What about Tuesday?
At least Tuesday and Thursday, and I'm traveling one of those 2 nights usually in the weekend.
And Thursday nights, you high pizza night. But
we eat at home every chance we get.
Every Tuesday?
Maybe once a month.
Except when there's a deacon's meeting or a shower.
Wait, sometimes you come home for lunch, though.
There you go. That's how we eat at home.
He does come home for lunch. So I'm usually not there, but I'll leave him a banana or an apple or something. So,
but it's important.
But it is important that we get.
No, that's Sandra's a good cook, and almost every Monday night I know she that's casserole night.
You won't ever see another casserole.
Come in and get a casserole before we come over here to visitation or go to Matt's game, and then
well, you got to have something ready if you've been gone. I mean,
that's
Monday's
right.
tennis, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a lot of things.
Then we Thursday night's usually leftover night from the casserole on Monday.
All right, that's it. We might not ever eat at home again.
In your past, is there any particular funny instance you can remember, circumstance, something that's happened, some misunderstanding between you or something? Is there anything you think of along that line?
I can't remember any misunderstandings.
I can.
Oh, no.
I can remember when we were married, not quite a year. And this is a true test of a marriage, I suppose. My husband and I were managing some apartments at LSU. And they asked us to move into a new group. And I told them that I really didn't want to move. But when they finished them, we would move. They were not finished yet, but I taught school. And I waked up one morning and heard some noise in the apartment. It was a Saturday morning. And I got up, and Don and a black fella had moved almost everything in the apartment out except me in the bedroom suit. And
while you were sleeping?
While I was asleep. I didn't know I was being moved. I was really not a happy person, and I don't know how he manages to keep forgetting that. I had a broken iron, and I couldn't iron his shirts anymore, so I had just kept buying new shirts for him. So I had this stack of iron about this high. So I was so angry, I just started ironing with this broken iron. I set up, that was the only thing left in that closet was this pile of shirts and an ironing board. And I ironed until finally, after they moved everything, they came and they lifted me up in the ironing board and ironed and just hauled me to the new house.
And that was all that was left.
I just left it in boxes till the other apartment was finished. I didn't unbox anything.
That's right. We had some boxes we never unboxed. And while we lived at that apartment, and then we moved on to the next.
How long were you out there?
Not too long.
Several months.
First couple years we were married, we moved 7 times to different apartments. We were managing the apartments, but that was a lot of fun, I thought.
Oh, lots of fun.
Well, I thank you both so much for taking the time to come here, and I know the young people will enjoy your thoughts and the things that you've expressed to them.
They definitely enjoy them, and I miss them very much.
Well, thank you much.
Yeah, we'll be enjoying this banquet while y'all are having this. We're going to have to be out in Hawaii doing some work, So I'm taking Sandra with me. This is an example of what we were talking about when we travel together. And
As we tour golf courses and
she
shopping
suffers
malls.
along with me.
Have a happy Valentine's
Thank
to
you,
both of you
Barbara.
all.
We enjoyed it.
Introduce now to you Joyce and J.B. McCullough. Joyce and J.B., how long have you all been married?
48 years.
40 and almost 50.
We in 49th, December the 12th of 95. We'll have our 49th.
I might say it seems like 100, but we hadn't been married but 48.
And tell me something about your family. How many children do you have?
But Mother, you go ahead and answer those.
We have 2 daughters, and each child has 4 children. 2 by second marriage for Pam, but anyway, there's 8 grandchildren.
And you work in special ed in our church, and JB is now in with the senior adults, but for years worked in the median department.
I've worked all around, and so has JV.
In different departments. Let me ask you a couple of questions and about your married life. How do you handle decision making? That perhaps might be something that the young adults could learn from.
We do that together. We had, I think, an unusual married life than most young people do today. We never went anywhere. We never did anything that wasn't family oriented. We didn't have babysitters when we went to football games. We took them with us. And that's the way we operated. We operated as a family. And pretty much that way. Our decision making was pretty much like a family made a decision. Now, they wasn't all agreeable. Because
How do you handle disagreements between the two of you? Have you got some sort of
well, go ahead, Mom.
advice on
We talk, and we never go to bed at night that we're not on good, sweet terms,
Speaking terms.
speaking terms, and I don't say that it's always easy, but we always manage to work things out through discussing and we end up-
communicating with each
That's
other?
right, communicating.
You all now have your children grown and gone. For years they were all there. Has it been hard for you? People talk about the midlife crisis of not having children. Has it been hard for you to adjust to not having children around?
We always have somebody at the house.
You still do.
The kids still come when they can. They both live in Houston. All our families live in Houston. But we have one at LSU, and in fact, we've had her nearly all day. She comes and goes to church with us, and we always go to lunch together.
And she spent the summer with us, taking extra courses, so
So your family is still very much a part of your
We're
life.
very
Very
close.
much.
We're still very
Very
close.
much
I
a
understand they coming for my birthday. All of them are coming for my birthday, so we won't be by ourselves.
And when is that?
February the 17th.
Right after.
If the Lord lets me live that long, I'll be 75.
How often do you all eat out? Do you eat at
Every
home?
chance we get. No, we're always going places. We go places for the church, or we go places for different organizations. And most everything is done around the dinner table. And it makes it pleasant. We enjoy doing that.
and like when you go into the doctor or other appointments, you don't have time to cook.
So you use this
So we
opportunity to eat out.
use every occasion.
And I'm being truthful when we say we eat out every chance we get.
On a more serious note, can you tell me something that perhaps along the years ago in your married life, or things that have happened that has prepared you for something maybe more recently that is happening in your relationship?
Well, we've drawn a little closer together, really, because of my ill health. In '82, I had a serious heart attack. You may remember that. And Joyce had to wait on me. And only recently, this year, I've had heart surgery, and I've had a group of 5 strokes. And Joyce is really taking care of me. She literally dresses me. If you can picture somebody trying to button a shirt with one hand, or trying to tie a tie with one hand,
You just couldn't do it.
or tie a shoe with one hand, I can't do that. So we've become really closer because of difficulties that we've had.
Then he had cancer in '91, so
So I've had a little taste of everything. And I don't feel like I'm persecuted for any reason, because if you pick up your Bible and read the history of stories of Bible characters, every one of them had difficulties. Nearly every one. It started with Noah. He didn't have it easy. And God don't plan an easy life for everybody.
Years. Do you have any advice for young couples today?
I do. Joyce and I talked about that. What kind of advice we'd have. And my only advice to young people today, to learn to listen. Listen to what the Bible says. Listen to what your mate says. Listen to what your children say. You can learn a great deal. You know, God has, in all his wisdom, gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. So you ought to listen twice as much as you talk. And I'm serious about that. I joke about the 2 ears and 1 mouth, but I'm serious about that. You ought to learn to listen.
Thank you both so much for taking the time and talking to us, and I know these young people will enjoy your wisdom, and we just look to you both as an example. Here's to you, Duck and Bess Greer. Duck works in our as director of the senior adult, is that right?
Senior adult 3.
And Bess is our secretary for the 9 o'clock Sunday school. And we thank you both for your service to the church, and now the young adults would just like to know something about you and your life and your marriage. How long have you all been married?
48 years.
48. And how many children do you have?
We have 3, a daughter, son, and daughter.
Hey, just to get us started, can you remember back some particular birthday gift or anniversary gift or something that one of you has given the other one?
I can remember my first gift.
It wasn't a birthday or an anniversary.
not.
We'd only known each other for a little while.
We had known
But
each
you
other
still
very,
remember.
very short while. And we were going to a movie one night, and Duck came to pick me up, and he had this little package. And you would have to understand, back in those days, it was right after World War II. You could not purchase items very freely. And in those days, we had to wear a makeup on our legs because we could not buy hose. And when I opened my little package, I had a pair of nylon hose that he had purchased and brought to me.
Oh,
And
that's
that was my
nice.
first gift that he gave me.
Oh, that's funny. What about decisions in your marriage? How do you make major decisions? Have you got any special way that you go about?
Well, major decisions, she makes them. No. No, we do. If we have a major decision, we sit down and we talk about it and find out what needs to be done. And after we've really explored it, we go to the Lord in prayer, and we pray about it. Then when the answer is revealed to us, we sit down and we talk about it again, and then once we've made up our mind, we go with it.
So you can see him working in your life through everything because you have taken it.
Yeah.
And we never look back on the decision that we have made.
Now, major decisions, once we make them, they're okay.
What about conflicts? Do you have any conflicts? Have you in these 48 years? And how,
Really? No.
That's one of the major decisions we made. We may have a disagreement, difference of opinion, but it never becomes major. We always cut it off and we make an agreement before it ever becomes major. So we don't have that problem. Never had.
wonderful, very good testimony to the young couple. What about your time together? What do you enjoy doing together? How do you find time to be together? Do you have trouble sometimes?
Well, now we have no problem because we're retired and we have a lot of time to be together. When we were younger and had our families, as these young people are, we would get up early in the morning, like 5 o'clock in the morning. I would bring coffee, I would prepare coffee, bring it to the bedroom, And we drank our coffee in the bedroom and shared some time together before the family
Every day.
every day.
She did that all of the time that we were married until I retired. When I retired from work, which now has been 7 years ago, we changed roles. I make the coffee and bring it to bed for her. Mutual
And it just
agreement.
worked out. What sort of things do you all enjoy doing together as a couple?
Most everything we do, to tell you the truth. We spend an awful lot of time together. The home activities, I like to work in the yard. She helps. We do the things on trimming of the shrubs and all this we like to do. Then I help her with the housework. I laughingly tell people, my job is mop the floor and do the vacuuming, and she does the light stuff. But outside activities, we like to spectate sports together. We go to football and follow LSU and go to basketball and those kind of things. We used to make a lot of trips together before a good friend and traveling buddy departed and went to heaven. Yep, Mr. Jimmy. But we enjoy most in it, and we do an awful lot of things together. Now we're walking together. I need to.
Very good.
I need to, especially now, and she's been going with me, and so we do. We spend a lot of time together doing those kind of things, and really enjoy it.
Did you have any adjustment to having your children leave the home, to having a home now that's quieter, or?
Not really. Not really. And even now, they're in and out of our house all the time. So we really have not had a big adjustment in an empty nest.
No, we have the open door policy. All of our grandkids and our kids as well have keys to our home, and if we're there, fine. If we're not, they come on in. It's home anyhow.
This is a different sort of question. Have you ever thought, nowadays over 50% of the couples are getting divorced, and it just seems to be like when you get married, I guess if it doesn't work, you can get divorced. Has it ever been, way back in your marriage or any time, has it ever crossed your minds
No,
that you might be divorced?
no,
No.
never ever.
Not in our vocabulary.
Just not there.
When we got married, the thing to do is you find the person that you love, you get married, and divorce was never a consideration.
It's not an option.
Not an option.
And would you
at
advise
all.
that for the young couples?
Yes, I would.
Absolutely. Make sure of what you're doing, and then when you go for it, that's it. That's a one-time deal.
Has it always been easy?
Nope.
You're married.
No, that's like a lot of other things in life. No, it isn't easy, but you have to give all to the one you love.
Can you describe a time in your life that, perhaps a difficult time, an illness or something you may have gone through, and how you handled that, how you got through it?
There's several that I could pick. Like any other couple who's been married for this long with children, there's been some ups and downs. But I guess the one that was the most traumatic to us was I was like 35 years old, had 3 children, 2 in, I believe, junior high, middle school they call it now, and 1 in elementary school. And I had been at a place that once you work there, that's it. You're there for life. And then they had a big layoff, and I got laid off. I'd been there 11 years, had like a month's vacation, and, I was set for life. Then all of a sudden, here I am without a job. And at that particular time, there was no work in Baton Rouge. And we had to make a decision then that what we were going to do. Could we make it here? Do we have to pull up stakes and go to Texas like a bunch of other folks? And we decided this was home. This is where our family was. All my church friends were here. If we left, somebody else was going to come here and make it. And so we decided, we made a lot of sacrifices at a time. When you go from making a pretty good salary to no salary, something's got to give. And we came through it. And I'll tell you what, after that, we were much stronger Christians and much stronger people and a closer bonded family after that than we were before, when we thought we had everything, which we did not.
So you wouldn't have wanted to have passed through without that
No,
difficult time?
it made us better
Made us stronger.
and stronger.
You
Sure
saw
did.
God in action. Do you have any advice for the young couples of today? Do you think marriage is harder today than it was years ago?
I don't
really
think so.
don't think so.
Because marriage is marriage.
That's
Marriage
right.
is, you're right.
That's right.
And this old saying about a marriage is 50-50 won't cut it. When you get married, it means you have to give to your spouse 100% of self and want the very best for them. And when both of you do that, even though marriage is tough, it's a lot of fun.
Well,
So
I
good.
thank y'all so much for coming and taking time to share with us. And I know these young couples will have gained wisdom through what they see, and we all look to you all and the strength of your marriage as an example for us. We thank you. Introduce to you Helen and Ken Presswood. We thank you both so much for coming. Helen is a ladies teacher in our young adult at 9 o'clock, young adult 2, and Ken is in our young adult 1 at 9 o'clock with the men's. And you all, for the first time ever, are in 2 different departments, aren't you?
First time recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. After last.
The last several years we've been
Well,
in
for
the
3
same
years we were together, and before that we were separate departments.
How long have you all been married?
40 years this year.
And tell me something about your family. How many children do you have? And
We have 4 children.
children.
four.
One per each 10 years.
Not hardly.
4 children, 40 years.
4 children in 6 years, as a matter of fact.
We have 2 boys and 2 girls. They're all married, and we have 10 grandchildren, 2 of them from the boys each. That's 4, and 3 of them from the girls each, and that's 6. That's our 10.
And Dana is
Our youngest, Dana Henson, is our youngest, and Terry, her older sister, is married to Mark Hebert, who's minister of music at Zor Baptist Church. And the next older is Mark Presswood. He's minister of music and education at Harold's Ferry Road Baptist Church. And our oldest son is Steve, and Cindy and their 2 children live in Franklin, Louisiana. He's an electrical engineer with Cabot Chemical Company.
now that they're gone, do y'all find any adjustment to having children out of the home after all these years of having them been in? Or?
Well, it's nice, but they haven't been out of the house all that time.
No,
They're
every one of
back.
them has come
Each
back at least
family.
one time and lived with us for a short period.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
Due to unforeseen circumstances.
Let me ask you, what sort of things do you do as a couple for entertainment? How do you find time to be together? And what do you like doing just for fun?
Well, things are different now that we're retired because we have more time that we can design on our own. I suppose the activity that we enjoy together the most is motorhoming and hiking. We enjoy going to the mountains. Colorado, I guess, is Helen's favorite place. And she is a very avid old railroad buff. Loves riding all the choo-choos. I'd say
Steam
that's
engines,
that's
old
probably
narrow gauge steam engine.
that's probably number 1.
Is it harder to find
Hiking, I
them?
think, is best.
Yeah,
I'd rather hike in the mountains than just about anything I can think of.
Let me ask you a different sort of question. In all your years, 40 years together, have you ever thought about divorce? Nowadays, everybody
to
seems
answer.
to get divorced.
I get
Go
to
for it.
answer. Billy Graham's wife, Ruth, was being interviewed one time. And the interviewer asked her this question. And she said, I've thought of murder several times, but I've never thought of divorce. And I relate to that. I've never thought of divorce, but I have seriously considered murder a few times.
Very good. It never entered your mind. It's just like not an
No.
option.
It's not.
Do you think it's any harder today for young couples than it was years ago, or is for the couples that have begun their marriage years ago?
I think the thing that might make it harder for couples today is that it is a lot more accepted today than it was when we were married. For us, this was not at all an accepted way of life, and it has become so that it is popular even.
And it's almost to the point where you try marriage and see if it'll work.
And
It
if
isn't a
something
commitment
goes
from the
wrong-
very beginning, which in our day, it certainly was a commitment from the beginning. And when you enter into marriage, you didn't do it very lightly. You did it planning for a lifetime together. And today, what's the divorce rate? It's above 50% in people who are, say, white, Caucasian, even, well, the professionals maybe even higher, but it's extraordinarily high.
Do you have any advice for the young couples today?
Well, I have advice for the male.
Okay, well, that,
There are two things.
okay.
Number one is you should pursue your wife's affection with the same level of intensity that you did before you were married.
The same level of intensity that God pursues His love relationship with us.
I can't do that, but we can try.
Without
Yes.
Jesus' power within you,
Uh,
and with His you can.
Right. Well, we know what love that God has for us is like. We have a combination of different loves for our wife. It's more than the love that God had for us, but that's the quality of love that we must use in a marriage. Otherwise, it'll fold, because the love for physical attraction as a relationship other than the one like God has for you, it won't last forever and be the glue that holds marriage together. But if you put your love on the scale that God has for us, then it's wanting for her those things which you'd like to have for yourself, even to the degree higher than you want for yourself. Let's see, the second one was, well, the first one was pursue her, the love relationship. And the second one is to make certain that she knows that she's foremost in all activities of your life, whatever it is, that she's number one. If you have an activity,
Except rabbit hunting. I don't want to go rabbit hunting.
no, I didn't say participate with me. No, there should be things that we participate in and we thoroughly enjoy, and that's going to be glue. But I'm talking about there should never be any question in her mind, but what anything you have in your life is secondary to her, whether it be something you enjoy doing, something that you have. And we have enough differences that this is an important element in our marriage. She doesn't care the first one thing about rabbit hunting, and I don't like opera, and she'd live and breathe opera, except for the times that she gives in to my interest in music, which are less lofty scale.
And you don't just take for granted that she knows that she's first. You have to make sure she knows it.
That's right. You got to show it, and it's not show. You have to demonstrate it.
Our son-in-law, Will, though, has the most practical advice for young couples, I think.
Okay.
And he gave this to a secretary in their Atlanta office who was asking him what he would give as practical advice, and he'd say, eliminate the word divorce from your vocabulary. I like that.
Well, I thank you both for sharing with
You're
us
welcome.
tonight. It just means so much that you're here. Your life and your example has meant so much to these young people. And we look to you as an example of
It's
how.
sure been a fun time in our lives.
40 years of it. I can't believe that.
That's great. Thank y'all so much.
Sex, of course.
Hey, this is a family rating.